They didn't even hide it. Not the way they looked at me like I didn't belong. Not the way his mother whispered about me in the kitchen as if I couldn't hear her. Not the way Jordan, the man I loved, just stood there letting it happen. From the very beginning I was treated like a placeholder. A warm body. A temporary mistake he'd one day correct. I just didn't know how deep the betrayal would cut. Until I found out he married someone else. The woman his mother actually approved of. My name is Talia. And I was the woman who loved Jordan more for 4 years. 4 years of stolen moments, midnight drives, and whispered dreams about forever. 4 years of bending myself backwards to fit into a mold I was never meant to fill. All because I believed his love was real. We met at a friend's 4th of July barbecue. He was tall, charming, and had the kind of quiet confidence that draws people in without effort. He didn't brag, didn't chase, he observed. And when he finally approached me, it felt like I was the only person in the entire world. "You look like the type who hates small talk," he'd said, grinning. He was right. And just like that we clicked. We talked all night. About books, childhood dreams, his plans to open a wellness tech startup. He had ambition, vision, and a calm soul. I fell fast. Within months we were inseparable. He'd come over after work. We'd cook dinner, binge true crime shows, and fall asleep in each other's arms. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't public. But it was ours. Then came the day he said he wanted me to meet his family. I was nervous but hopeful. His mother, Elaine Moore, was a known name in Atlanta's elite circles. Hosted charity balls, sat on boards, and ran her son's life like a tight business plan. I wore a simple white dress. Pearls. Light makeup. I practiced my smile in the car mirror. But the moment I stepped into her estate, I could feel the air shift. She looked me up and down, that kind of slow scan people do when they're cataloging your flaws. Then she said, "Oh, you didn't tell me she was so urban." Jordan laughed it off. I didn't. That one word stuck to me like gum on a shoe. Urban. Translation: too brown. Too blunt. Hey. I tried to shake it off, thinking maybe I was overreacting. But the little comments didn't stop. "How did you two meet again? What does your father do? Have you ever been to Paris?" And then her favorite. "You know Jordan's ex, Ava? Such a polished girl. Her family owns 3 vineyards." Ava. The name kept popping up. Ava, who made it to every family photo. Ava, who still attended church with the Moores. Ava, who sent Jordan's mom handmade gifts on Mother's Day. It was obvious. I was competing with a ghost I never even knew existed. Still, Jordan always insisted, "My mom's just intense. Don't take it personally." So I didn't. I just kept showing up. Every Sunday dinner. Every family event. Every charity gala where I stood beside him like a decorative accessory, welcomed but never embraced. But behind closed doors, he loved me. Or at least I thought he did. He said he wanted to build a future with me. We talked about moving in together. About marriage. Kids. But something always stopped him. Excuses. Delays. Work stress. And still I stayed. Because when you've convinced yourself that love means sacrifice, you don't notice when you're bleeding out. Until one day, the bleeding stopped. And I woke up. But not before everything I feared came true. The unraveling didn't happen all at once. It was slow, silent. Like a leak you don't notice until your whole house smells like mold. The first real shift happened on Jordan's birthday. I had planned everything. Rented out a rooftop space with his closest friends, had a private chef whip up his favorite meal, even flew in his college roommate from New York. I spent weeks on it, pouring every ounce of love I had into making that night unforgettable. And he was distracted. He smiled, he thanked everyone, but the sparkle wasn't there. He barely looked at me. When I leaned in to kiss him after the cake, he turned slightly, letting my lips land on his cheek. Something inside me cracked. Later that night, as I cleaned up empty champagne flutes and crumpled napkins, I asked him, "Are you okay with us? Still happy?" He looked at me like I'd asked him if the sky was green. "Of course I am. Why would you even ask that?" But his eyes, they didn't match his words. Then came the missed calls. The late nights at work. The weekends away for business conferences. I wanted to believe him. I needed to believe him. Because what was the alternative? That I had wasted 4 years on a man whose heart was slowly turning toward someone else? The truth came to me in pieces. First, a lipstick stain on his inner collar. Not mine. Too bold. Too red. I confronted him. He said it was a hug from a client's wife. Then a receipt in his coat pocket. Dinner for two at the Rosette Room. A place I'd always dreamed of going. A place he said was too flashy for our taste. Still, I wanted to believe. So I stayed quiet. Foolishly loyal. But the real blow came from someone unexpected, his cousin Maya. We were at a family brunch when she pulled me aside. "I know this isn't my place," she said softly, "but you deserve to know. Jordan's been seeing someone else." My throat went dry. "Who?" I whispered. She hesitated, then said the name I had grown to dread. "Ava." I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just walked out. I waited outside in the cold until Jordan came looking for me. He didn't deny it. "I never stopped seeing her," he said. "I tried to let her go, but my mom always wanted her. And honestly, it was just easier." Easier. That word haunted me. All my love, all my effort, undone because loving me wasn't convenient. I wasn't the girl with the vineyard. I wasn't from his world. I was the struggle before the success story. He told me he loved me. But love without action is just noise. I walked away that night. Tears burning my cheeks, pride cracking under my feet. But I walked. And I would have been fine if that was the end. If I could just grieve the loss and move on. But life has a way of twisting the knife. 2 months later, while scrolling through Instagram, I saw it. A post tagged at a luxury resort in Tuscany. Caption read, "Forever starts here. #more and more #engaged. The bride-to-be, Ava." And in the background of the carousel post, clear as day, stood Jordan's mother, beaming like Christmas morning. He didn't just cheat. He married her. Secretly. While I was still healing. Still wondering if I wasn't good enough. He was building a picture-perfect life with the woman who checked all his mother's boxes. I wasn't just discarded. I was erased. But they made one fatal mistake. They thought I'd stay quiet. They thought I'd break. They thought I'd disappear. They forgot what happens when a woman stops begging to belong and starts reclaiming her worth. They say the best revenge is success. But I wasn't just after success. I was after dignity. I was after the version of me that I buried to fit into their world. And I was finally ready to dig her up. The first thing I did was quit my job. Sounds crazy, right? But working under Jordan's friend at the firm where I was constantly reminded of my place? Well, I couldn't breathe there. I needed a clean slate. I took what little savings I had left and went back to what once made me come alive. Designing. Before Jordan, I used to sketch all the time. Clothes, bags, jewelry. But somewhere in the noise of being his wife someday, I stopped dreaming for myself. So I rented a tiny studio space above a florist shop. It wasn't fancy. But it was mine. I started with one bag design. Just one. Poured all my pain, all my fire into it. Posted it on a whim. Didn't expect much. But someone did notice. An influencer I used to follow shared it with 3 words. "This is power." That post blew up. In 1 week I got 700 orders. In 2 months a small investor reached out. And by the end of the 3rd, I had launched a mini collection called Unchosen. Every bag had a name. Outcast. Afterthought. Too much. Names I had been called. Names I turned into art. Women felt it. It wasn't just fashion. It was a statement. I wasn't trying to fit in anymore. I was building my own table. Then came the gala. It was one of those big charity events. Fashion meets finance. The type Jordan's mother used to drag me to just so I could be reminded of what I wasn't. But this time I wasn't coming as a +1. I was invited as a sponsor. The Unchosen line was being featured in a silent auction, alongside designs by names I once could only admire from a screen. I wore a midnight black gown. My hair pulled back in a sleek bun. Confidence wasn't something I put on that night. It radiated from within. And that's when I saw them. His mother. And Ava. She looked exactly like the picture-perfect wife she was molded to be. dressed in couture, wearing pearls probably passed down by his grandmother. And him? He looked tired. Older. He noticed me before she did. His eyes widened. And for the first time since we parted ways, he didn't look smug. He looked regretful. They approached me. Talia. Ava said, her voice sugary sweet. I didn't know you were sponsoring. I finished. Yeah. It's a new thing I do. Jordan looked at the table where my bags were displayed. He picked up one labeled unworthy. Read the tag. A tribute to every woman told she wasn't enough. His hands trembled slightly. I've been following your work, he said finally. You're doing amazing things. I smiled. The kind of smile you give someone you've outgrown. The kind that's polite, but final. Thanks, I said. I had to lose everything to find it all. He swallowed hard. Ava looked confused, maybe even a little threatened. And his mother? She didn't say a word. Just watched me. The same eyes that once judged me were now filled with respect? Or was it fear? Either way, I didn't care. Because I wasn't there for them. I was there for me. That night, one of my bags was auctioned for triple its value. The woman who bought it whispered, "Thank you for reminding me I still matter." And that meant more than any ring Jordan ever gave someone else. I didn't need a revenge plot to ruin him. Life was already doing that for me. And I had more important things to do. Like write my own ending. Just when I thought I'd closed the chapter on that part of my life, life threw one last test at me. A message came in through my business email. Subject line: collaboration opportunity. I almost ignored it. My inbox was always full of those lately. But something about the sender's name stopped me. Catherine Wilmore. Jordan's mother. I stared at the screen for a long minute. Curiosity won. I opened it. Dear Talia. I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing not as Jordan's mother, but as the founder of the Wilmore Women's Foundation. We're planning a benefit event to support young women from disadvantaged backgrounds, and I would like to feature your unchosen collection in a keynote segment. Your story, your strength. It's exactly what our audience needs to see. Please consider it. I believe it's time we acknowledge where we fell short, and support the women who rise in spite of it. I sat frozen. Was this an apology? Was it guilt? Or just damage control to keep up her pristine public image? I didn't know. But I did know this. I wasn't the same Talia who used to beg for crumbs of validation from people like her. Still, I thought about the young girls who might be sitting in that audience. Girls who felt invisible. Girls who were always told they were too loud, too much, or not enough. So I said yes. But I laid down my terms. I would speak, but I'd tell the whole truth. No sugarcoating. No pretending. And to her credit, Catherine agreed. The night of the benefit, I walked onto the stage in a blood-red pantsuit. No jewelry. No need to soften anything. I told them my story. How I was made to feel small in rooms I now owned. How I lost myself trying to be worthy. And how, in the silence after heartbreak, I heard my own voice for the first time. The room was so still you could hear breaths being held. I saw women tearing up. Nods. Whispers of, "That's me." After the speech, Catherine approached me. Her eyes were softer than I remembered. Her hands slightly shaking as she reached out. "I was wrong about you," she said. "You weren't too much. We just weren't enough to see your worth." I didn't say I know. I didn't say it's too late. I just said, thank you. Because I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't need apologies to move forward. I was forward. Jordan reached out again after that night. Of course he did. He said things like, "I made a mistake, and it should have been you." But I didn't answer. I had nothing to prove anymore. And no space in my life for people who only saw my light when it started to shine without them. That's the thing they don't tell you. When you stop chasing validation and start chasing purpose, the people who rejected you start wishing they hadn't. But by then, you've already moved on. I found my people. Women who weren't intimidated by strength. Who clapped when I won. Who didn't ask me to shrink to be loved. I found myself. Not the version molded by expectations, but the one forged through fire. And in losing their approval, I found my power. The truth is, healing doesn't always come with applause. After the benefit, I was invited to speak at more events, mentor programs, fashion panels. My face appeared on magazine covers beside headlines like, "From Rejected to Remarkable," and "The Girl Who Wasn't Chosen, and Thank God She Wasn't." But at night in the quiet I still thought of the girl I used to be. The girl who sat on the edge of Jordan's bed, clutching her chest while he confessed he married someone else. The girl who begged herself not to cry in front of the woman who saw her as a project, not a person. And most of all, the girl who once believed her worth depended on someone else's love. One evening, after a long day at a Women in Leadership panel, I returned to my apartment and found a letter slipped under the door. Not an email. Not a message. A handwritten letter. I unfolded the paper carefully. It was from her, Amira. "Talia. You don't know me personally, though I'm sure my name rings loud in your memories. I was the one they chose, the one who fit. But I've come to realize I was never loved. I was simply a convenient symbol of their legacy. Jordan and I are no longer together. I don't want pity or judgment. Just understanding. They paraded me like a trophy, but I was never truly seen. Not even by him. I watched your journey from the sidelines and realized something powerful. You weren't the girl who wasn't chosen. You were the girl who didn't need to be. I'm rooting for you always. You broke the mold. You gave others like me courage to question who we're really living for. With respect, Amira." I sat on the couch, heart thudding. Not because I felt vindicated, but because I felt seen. Finally. Not by them but by life. By the universe. The irony. The girl they chose had suffered in silence too. And we had both been victims of a system that taught women to compete, conform, and contort. But not anymore. A few months later, I launched a mentorship platform called Redefined. It became a haven for girls who had been passed over, overlooked, underestimated. We shared stories, built businesses, hosted healing retreats. One morning while walking out of a workshop event, I saw a young woman waiting near the door. Maybe 20, shy eyes, trembling fingers. She looked at me like I was someone she'd been looking for her whole life. "Can I hug you?" she asked. When I nodded, she stepped forward and held me tight. "You made me believe I don't have to be perfect to be powerful," she whispered. That was the moment I realized. I never needed to belong in their world. Because I was building my own. A world where girls didn't need permission to shine. Where being too much was the beginning of greatness, not the end of love. The next time I saw Jordan, I didn't recognize him. Not because his face had changed, but because I had. He was standing at the back of one of my conferences, watching as I addressed a crowd of over 500 women. I was speaking about courage, about breaking cycles, about what it meant to reclaim your voice after years of being silenced. When I stepped off the stage, he approached me, hesitant, quiet. "Talia," he said, "I saw your name on the billboard. I had to come." I nodded, offering a polite smile. He looked thinner, older, burdened by more than time. "I made a mess of everything," he said, eyes lowered. "I chose comfort. I let them choose for me." There was no apology in his voice. Only regret. "I thought I'd feel victorious having their approval," he continued, "but all I felt was empty." I looked him squarely in the eye and said the words I had longed to say for years. "You didn't break me. You built the woman standing here today. So thank you for choosing her. Because I finally chose me." He nodded slowly, lips pressed together. "You were always the one." "No," I said gently. "I was always mine." And I walked away. Because closure isn't about getting even. It's about walking into a room you once cried in, wearing heels, holding a mic, and owning the story. It's about realizing that sometimes rejection is just redirection. And being unwanted by them was the best thing that ever happened to me. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think twice about your own worth, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs this message. Comment below if you've ever had to choose you. And subscribe to our channel because we drop powerful new episodes every single day. You never know. The next story might be the one that changes everything for you. See you in the next one.